moving. On Wednesday, it's the male-female hour.
I really do wish there were
Good morning. I guess we are centered. I don't know if we were centered or not. We're pretty centered. Let's slide you over a little bit. How's that? Is that a little better? We're in commercial, ready to start a Wednesday edition of the Bruce Hooley Show. Wednesday? Tuesday. Sorry. If only it were Wednesday. But we are in commercial, and trust me, you do not want to hear the commercial that is playing. Never mind. You just don't want to hear it. But here goes the music, and here we go. Thanks for joining. Welcome to a Tuesday edition of the Bruce Hooley Show. Already breaking news. Robert F. Kennedy is passed out of the committee that needs to pass him to make his eventual confirmation more likely. I mean, they could have sent him to the Senate floor, but if you're not passed out of committee when Republicans have the majority on the committee, you probably don't have a very good chance of getting approved by the full Senate. Still may be ticklish for RFK as Health and Human Services Director, but the two holdouts, a senator from Indiana, Young, I believe is his name, and Bill Cassidy, a doctor who was troubled by RFK's answers on vaccines. But Bill Cassidy's running for re-election in 2 years, and all the Republicans voted thumbs up on RFK, and all the Democrats voted thumbs down, so he advances to a full Senate vote by a slim, but nevertheless, irrevocable 14-13 margin. We have a further Democratic freakout over the, not really shuttering, but the reorganization of USAID, which has enough of your money, taxpayer money, to exist as a Fortune 500 company. And that is how USAID would like to continue to operate, as an independent entity of the federal government. Trouble is, it was created by an executive order by then President John F. Kennedy in 1961. And while there's been some disagreement as to whether Donald Trump can shutter USAID by an executive order, he can do, at the very least, what he's already done, which is fold USAID under the purview of the State Department, now headed by Marco Rubio. So Democrats can bellyache all they want to. There's nothing they can do about keeping Marco Rubio from having controlled the agency and subjecting it to an audit, which, when a federal agency doesn't want to be audited, the question that comes to mind is, why? Why? Why don't you want us looking under the hood of what you're doing with all that taxpayer money that you're getting? I think it's like $40 billion. Crazy. But let's start right here at home, shall we? It's been a while since we led with local events because we've had a relatively quiet start to the new year. And we've had the extremely consequential drinking through a fire hose first 2 weeks of the Donald Trump presidency. But let's start here at home. And if you were going to make a guess what I would lead with on the local front, given where the Bruce Hooley Show typically traverses on local issues, you would probably guess it's going to be one of two things, right? It's going to be the rampant wokeness of a local school district or the rampant crime in Central Ohio. Well, if you guessed crime, you win the prize, because I've tried to put in perspective for you over the course of this program how utterly dysfunctional our court system is, and how horrible our juvenile court system is in particular. Now, those are two things that perfectly mesh together. If you have a rotten juvenile court system, and we do, what is going to happen? You are not going to punish juveniles for crimes. You are not going to deter them. You are not going to teach them a lesson. You are not going to have them off the street. And all three of those things are going to lead to what? Correct. More crime, worse crime. The principle of reaping and sowing outlined in the Bible is down through the ages, proven true time and time again. You reap what you sow. more than you sow, later than you sow it. Like a farmer, he plants corn in little seeds, and then he gets a bunch more corn. The kernels are much more bountiful when the crop reaches fruition, but he doesn't get it the day he plants it, he gets it later. Well, same principle applies to crime in Columbus, and specifically juvenile crime, which eventually becomes adult crime. And we have 3 headlines today that I want to try to relate as to beginning, middle, and end that will demonstrate to you how horrible and awful our juvenile court system is. And guess who's asking for help? Columbus Police. Even the woke management of Columbus Police, Chief Elaine Bryant, Assistant Chief LaShawna Potts, even they see finally that maybe letting all the juvenile criminals out because we don't want to have an imbalance of juveniles of a certain racial persuasion overloading our courts, because that, of course, would be racist. I guess they've had their fill of their progressive ideas, because they are reaching out for help from the juvenile court system and from the court system in general. But that's the middle headline. Let's start with the fresh. Although you'll say, fresh? I've heard this before. Sure you have. Columbus Police, a vehicle involved in a crash on Monday afternoon. One of its, I think this was an SUV, CPD cruiser, was in a crash in Grove City on Monday afternoon. A teenage carjacking suspect. So he carjacked a car, so he carjacked a woman, a 16-year-old, pulled a gun on her, stole her car. He crashed it a mile later. Nope, I know you're thinking, and he was killed. No, that happens occasionally, but not this time. He got out after firing at police while he was trying to drive away and flee, ran, hid in a dumpster. The furor set off such alarm bells in the area that both schools from Grove City and the Southwestern City School Districts had to go on lockdown, because this dangerous, again, 16-year-old shooting at police after carjacking a woman at gunpoint. They found him in a dumpster. Shall I make the joke about how appropriate it is that this 16-year-old ended up in a dumpster, or will you? That's where garbage belongs, in a dumpster. And yes, I just called a 16-year-old garbage, because anyone who would hold a woman at gunpoint to steal her car, try to elude police, fire at police, cause schools to be placed on lockdown, is a garbage person who at the tender age of 16 has probably already reached a point where he is unsalvageable. I'll get to that in headline number 3. PR spokesperson for Columbus Police, Public Information Officer, I guess is his official title, James Fuqua, expressed frustration. The NBC4i website says, I don't know why, James, you should be used to this. It's not your fault, but you should be used to it. His quote, that could have been my mom. That could have been my sister. That could have been a friend. The bottom line is we have juveniles out committing very violent crimes, and it has to stop. James Fuqua doing his Andrew Ginther impression, expressing outrage at the continued mayhem that juvenile criminals wreak upon this city. So there's the beginning, all right? Now, that's the first headline. Now we go to the middle headline. Columbus Police say it is time that the General Assembly of the state of Ohio do something to keep dangerous teens off the street. Really? When a dangerous teen like this 16-year-old is found in a dumpster where he belongs, does he go down to the state house for his adjudication of the crime? No, he goes to juvenile court. What prompted Columbus Police to ask for help from lawmakers? Oh, a 17-year-old opened fire on 4 officers earlier in January after his girlfriend called 911. The 3-minute shootout with officers unfolded 5 months after the same teen was arrested after an armed robbery in South Columbus, shockingly, in which shots were also fired. Who could have seen that coming? LaShawna Potts, Assistant Chief. If the law is broken, we need to advocate to get the law changed. Huh? No, you don't need to get the law changed. There are laws on the books. LaShawna Potts, you just need to get your juvenile court judges to enforce them. ABC 6, that's Channel 6 here in town, found that in the first robbery, the 17-year-old committed it with a partner who was 18 years old. Both of them tried to, you know what's coming, right? Tried to carjack a man at gunpoint, ran and opened fire when the victim followed them. The second guy, the accomplice, was taken to jail, and they found out when they booked him that he had already been indicted on 7 felony counts. The 17-year-old had been let go, as I said, 5 months earlier due to a victim not being able to give a positive identification because the victim was out of his. I'll finish it later. This is infuriating. It's just absolutely infuriating that they let these punks continue to carjack cars, don't hold them accountable, let them out, they commit more crimes, and eventually either they end up dead or another person ends up dead, which is headline number 3 that we're going to get to. Thank you, sir.
Temperature Pro understands that your HVAC system is the heart of your home's comfort. When it needs attention, you deserve service that's fast, transparent, and reliable. More than just a repair company, they're your home's partner, offering professional service that respects your space and your family. For routine maintenance or an unexpected breakdown, trust Temperature Pro to keep your home running smoothly with no surprises on pricing. Temperature Pro, your comfort is our promise.
How would you define your relationship?
Utterly amazing.
Challenges, trouble falling asleep, or staying.
This is just sad. I mean, it's just like we got no parents at home. We got no authority in their life. We got no. They have no hope, man. They have no hope in these circumstances that they think crime's the answer. It's not the answer, but I sort of understand it. But man, culture out there is just so awful in this town. But they're going to spend $100 million on a bike path to beautify downtown. Yeah, that'll really help. I mean, it will. It'll help the criminals. More people on the sidewalk means more people you can rob.
Healthy hot cocoa for sleep with no added sugar. Text BEAM to 717.
Luxury beliefs. Politicians can just go home. They bear no responsibility for any of this. They take no responsibility for any of it. Disgusting.
Thousands of people lose weight and keep it off. In fact, you have an 80% success rate keeping the weight off your clients. What's the big secret here?
It's really threefold. First, we customize a nutrition plan for you that works with your nutrition needs, your schedule, and your lifestyle. Next, we change your behavior. We know that most people are sugar addicted, so we teach you to think differently about the food you eat. Lastly, we help you drop all the belly fat. If you only lose half of the belly fat you need to lose, that triples your chances of gaining it all back. In order to lose that weight for life, your belly fat has to stop producing hormones that keep you fat. PhD has a free maintenance plan, so you'll never leave your bed.
Call them today. When you're ready, call 864-644-1900, 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. Mariota here, inviting you to join me on the...
Is it dark in here, or is it just me? I think it's dark in here.
Picture this. You
We're in commercial. Can you hear the commercials?
First-class luxury ship, surrounded by breathtaking glaciers
No.
and majestic mountains.
I don't know why I hear it
Joining
in
us
my
will be Mike
headset, but you
Gallagher,
guys don't
Jennifer
hear it.
Horn, and Jill
Trust me,
Packer.
we're in
So
commercial.
that's just the beginning. We sail August 16th through the 23rd through the last. On board, you'll enjoy thought-provoking talks, exclusive events, and unforgettable memories with fellow patriots who share your conservative values. Text the word travel to 94878 to reserve your cabin today. This is more than just a cruise. It's a chance to engage with some of the most respected voices in conservative America while exploring one of the most beautiful places on earth.
Long break.
Space is limited, so do not wait to book your cabin. Text travel to 94878. That's travel to 94878. I'll see you on board where patriotism, adventure, and luxury come together.
We had conflicting forecasts for the weather, how soon spring will arrive, from the various groundhog weather experts on Groundhog Day. Nevertheless, you know that eventually spring is here and you're going to want to get out. You're going to be wanting to ride a bike or walk around the neighborhood or become more active, and you're looking forward to that, but you're kind of dreading it too because you're in pain, right? You got arthritis pain, nagging knee pain, back, hip, elbow, ankle, hand, whatever it is. Have you thought about seeking relief? Yes, of course. I've been to the doctor. They tell me I need surgery. They tell me I'm bone on bone, nothing they can do, or they want to give me painkillers. No. Try the free consultation from my friends at QC Kinetics. Dublin Gehanna Clinics. They withdraw your blood, separate out the healing agents called platelets, re-inject it in the affected area, and it gets thousands of people relief. Explore the possibility of non-surgical healing by calling 380-208-4544, 380-208-4544. That's 380-208-4544. The coincidence of the awkwardness with which I ended the previous segment is that I couldn't come up with the words to describe why the 17-year-old who shot at police officers in January was out on the street, because this kind of stuff just drives me absolutely crazy. And I struggle for words that would be acceptable on a radio show. And the irony of it is that the reason why the 17-year-old who shot at police after carjacking someone couldn't be identified by the victim of the carjacking was because the victim of the carjacking was in the hospital and was too emotionally distraught to identify the juvenile. I'm emotionally distraught over this too, because yesterday we had a different incident in Grove City where they locked down 2 schools because a, what was he, 16? I can't remember exactly how. Yeah, 16-year-old yesterday carjacked a woman, eluded police for a mile before he crashed the woman's car that he stole, fired at police while he was trying to flee them, causing 2 schools to go on lockdown. So I said that was the first headline, okay? And then we're going to work back to January where we got the 17-year-old who carjacked somebody. I'm laughing at the absurdity of this and the absurdity of Columbus's juvenile court. This is the middle headline in a 3-headline triumvirate of terrible. So after this kid, the 17-year-old, now we're in the middle headline, in January, earlier in January, he goes, and they can't identify him because, as I say, the victim of the carjacking is too emotionally distraught. So then a month later, after the victim picked him out of a lineup, they go to the kid's father and say, hey, we got an arrest warrant for your son because he used a gun. It's a felony. We got to arrest him. And the father's like, oh, gee, I don't know where he is. I have no idea where he might be. So he ends up in juvenile court, but they let him out because juvenile court, quote, set aside the arrest warrant in the case. Channel 6 says they asked juvenile court about what, and they said, I'll get back to you on that. Prosecutors within the juvenile court system said they were not informed of the set-aside order until after it was granted. So the people prosecuting the kid, the 17-year-old, who had already been involved in an armed robbery where he used a gun before, The prosecutors in the case were not told that the juvenile court was going to let him out until he was already out. Just incredible. I mean, just incredible. Okay, so shall we fast forward to see where someday this 16-year-old from yesterday and somewhere this 17-year-old who has since turned 18 years old, shall we fast forward to where this will eventually end? Yes, let's fast forward to story number 3. Remember I said we had beginning, middle, and end. Okay, here we go. Here's the end. You remember the 16-year-old girl, Demaya Cumberlander, who was shot to death, supposedly an accidental shooting where guys were sitting around. Her boyfriend was sitting around. They were playing with a pistol, and they fired it, and it killed her. And then the next day, this was in June. The next day, they had a vigil at Crum Park for Demaya Cumberlander. And then at the vigil at Crum Park, there was a drive-by shooting, and 2 people were shot dead at the vigil for the girl who had been shot dead the day before. The guy who did the shooting is 19-year-old Tyrez Turner, okay? Tyrez is a bad man. He has a record that is, I can't even recount it for you by the end of this segment. He is now locked up, charged with 2 counts of, 2 counts of aggravated murder, 4 counts of murder, 3 counts of having a weapon under disability. He faces a minimum sentence of life in prison or 43 years. Why did he do this? Because, I'm going to talk about crime perpetuating crime. He believed that his mother had been shot to death by the uncle of the girl who was shot, and then the vigil was being held for. Okay? So he's mad because his mother was shot by a boyfriend who was related to the girl who was shot by her boyfriend. I know it gets confusing, but trust me, this cycle of criminal dysfunction, all because we don't get our hands on these kids when they are in juvenile court, and we continue to let them out and let them out and let them out. So let me recount the sordid background of Tyrez Turner, who by the age of 18 had done more than enough things that he should have been behind bars. Here we go. Getting to the good stuff. Turner's first official contact with the court system in Franklin County came in 2017 at the age of 12. He was charged in Franklin County Juvenile Court, I'm reading straight out of the dispatch, with aggravated burglary, kidnapping, and robbery, all of which are high-level felonies, at age 12. When he was 15, 3 years later, Turner was charged. What's he doing out? Is that a dumb question? I don't think so. What's he doing out? 3 felonies when he's 12? He's out by 15. Charged for his involvement with a group of people in robbing and assaulting a food delivery worker by age 17, 2 years later. Again, what's he doing out? Turner was well known to Columbus police. He had been found delinquent of drunk driving at age 15. Can you get a license at 15? No. Multiple assaults while being held in detention. Oh, so I guess that's why we let him out. These are too dangerous to keep in. And at least 4 weapons charges. Between the ages of 13 and 17, Turner was charged at least 20 times for stealing a car and had several other charges filed against him. Turner had 42 separate filings, ranging from felonious assault on a police officer to possession of marijuana and curfew violations before he had turned 18. In April of 2022, police received an alert to be on the lookout for Turner, who was allegedly in possession of a long gun in a stolen SUV. They found him. They tried to stop him. He rammed the police cruiser and caused a Columbus police officer who was exiting the cruiser to suffer injuries to his hand that resulted in multiple surgeries. Out with a long gun, trying to run over a police officer, with a list of felonies dating back to when he was 12 years old. How long do you think Tyrez Turner spent incarcerated, given that criminal history? 1 year. 1 year, because he was a juvenile. Amazing.
With SRN News, I'm Alex Thomason. Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s nomination for Health Secretary has cleared a major hurdle. In a party line vote, the Senate Finance Committee has sent the nomination on to the full Senate. President Trump's imposition of 10% tariffs on imports from China being answered by Beijing with the threat of tariffs on U.S. goods. Chinese tariffs take effect next week. Mr. Trump has agreed to a 1-month pause in tariffs on Mexican and Canadian imports after both of those countries agreed to do more to secure the border with the U.S. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is in Washington for a meeting with President Trump. That sit-down to take place later today. And Chris Wright, confirmed by the Senate as Energy Secretary, vowing to unleash America's vast energy resources.
Columbus used to be such a great town. It really did. It used to be such a great town. And I used to love to go to restaurants downtown. I used to love to go, yes, way before the Blue Jackets even. I've been working in Columbus since October the 31st of 1987. I bought 2 houses in Columbus and now live outside Columbus. And I'm so glad I live outside Columbus because I don't darken the door of downtown unless I absolutely positively have to. I will take 270 around Columbus if I'm headed to Pittsburgh. I will take, I live on the west side, so I don't have to like deal with it if I'm going west. But Columbus is an unsafe city where the switch in the political leadership of this city has switched from Republican when I moved here to Democrat now over the last 6 mayoral administrations. It has become decidedly more violent, decidedly more dysfunctional in the courts. And I would not, you could give me a free meal and free tickets to any event downtown to take my wife and family to, and I would decline. It is absolutely positively not safe. I worked in Cleveland from 2016 to,
my name is Justin Petrichor.
Was it 20? No. It was 2011 to 2016. Walk downtown, go to Indians games, go to Cavs games. I never had, I mean, I was wary. You're always wary in a big city late at night in the dark. But I never had to fear that something bad was going to happen to me in downtown Cleveland that I have in downtown Columbus. Because it's a reality in Columbus. I haven't been back, much in Cleveland since 2016. It may have become a decidedly less safe city downtown since then, but I doubt it. Columbus is an absolute train wreck. I used to argue it was a better city than Cleveland all day long. I would never make that statement now. Never. And it's all thanks to our rotten leadership here, which makes me sad. But you keep voting for them, you're going to keep getting what you get.
Just click on the radio podcast square and use my promo code Bruce at mypillow.com.
Very, very sad. And totally preventable. It's like illegal immigration, like so many other things Democrats have brought to bear on our culture. Totally, totally preventable. All you have to do is punish crime. It's an age-old theory. You make it less pleasant on the inside than it is on the outside, people stop committing crimes. You abide the crime, you get worse crime, you get more crime, you get innocent people hurt, robbed, dead. You're not doing these kids any favors. Not at all. Letting them do whatever they want to do. It's infuriating. Time is ebbing away to get your tickets to the Resist the Drift Marriage Conference. Oh, we're not full yet, but we very well could be any day. Get your tickets at 989theanswer.com. What is Resist the Drift? It is a marriage conference on Valentine's Day weekend. You really want to show your spouse you care about them. Show them that you want your marriage to become more invigorating. Recapture that soulmate feel, shed that roommate feel. Focus on the Family and Salem Media Group are presenting Resist the Drift at Genoa Church in Westerville on February the 14th and 15th. Dr. Greg and Aaron Smalley will share their story, solid Bible-based principles on how to recapture the energy and momentum in your marriage that you had when you said, I do. General admission ticket gets you 4 sessions with the Smalleys and a conference workbook. Premium experience ticket gets you, of course, all that, plus a private Q&A session with the workshop speakers, continental breakfast, and a gift. Again, buy your tickets at 989theanswer.com. So I used to spend a lot of time in downtown Columbus. It was, pre-Easton. I moved here, bought my first house here in 1987, bought another house a few years after that, kept the first house, rented it. Now I'm shed of both. I want nothing to do with this city. It's not a safe city. It was a great city when I moved to it. I used to argue that it was 1,000 times better than Cleveland. I would never make that argument now. I worked in Cleveland, lived in Cleveland from 2011 to 2016, and I know a lot can change in, 9 years now? Well, we're not really fully into 2025 yet, but I don't believe the city of Cleveland has, in its downtown, become half as dangerous as downtown Columbus. You could give me free tickets and a free dinner for myself, my wife, my kids. I'd say thanks, but no thanks, because I just deplore what downtown Columbus has become. And it's become that since Michael Coleman was mayor 3 times and Andrew Ginther was mayor 3 times. I don't know what triggered the change from Central Ohio becoming dominated by Republicans. Some of it was we had powerful people in charge at companies that aren't even here anymore, like Bank One. They've become eaten up in corporate reorganization and things like that. John McConnell, wonderful, wonderful man. We used to have what people derisively called the Titans. The Titans who kind of ran the city, and they had their political appointees. Couldn't win the mayorship without the blessing of the Titans. But, hey, democracy, democracy, democracy. People vote for the leadership they get, and you get the litany of lunacy that I outlined in the first 2 segments of this show, with criminals being allowed to perpetrate their mayhem as juveniles, escalating to more crimes, more innocent victims, and police crying out for lawmakers to do something to keep juveniles in prison. And then, of course, if you're a lawmaker and you want to do that, then what's coming your way, right? The Democrats are going to say, "Oh, you're racist. You want to put more black kids behind bars." That's what the courts are for. The courts are for the equal adjudication of justice. But they, here in Columbus, are not interested in that. We had a letter from the juvenile court when cops tried to crack down on street racing in downtown Columbus. "Oh, you can't do that. I mean, they said it was racist. Look at the kids you're arresting. They're all not white." Okay, well, maybe we're not arresting them because they're not white. We're arresting them because they're stealing cars and drag racing in downtown Columbus. The whole thing is nonsensical and ridiculous, but it continues. Because here's another story. Columbus City Schools has 6,000 cameras district-wide to scan school buildings to look for guns. This week, a 16-year-old, if you caught the first 2 segments, we're talking about what? 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds with guns, carjacking. A 16-year-old with a gun brought a loaded gun to Marion Franklin High School in Southeast Columbus. It is the 8th time this year students have brought a gun to school. Not the first time it's happened at Marion Franklin. The safety director of Columbus City Schools is Chris Baker. Mr. Baker says, "We are finding these things before people are hurt." There are numerous security protocols out there, software programs and the like, that can detect the presence of a weapon in a school. Sometimes detect it visually, sometimes detect it just by sensors. Nevertheless, doesn't mean you're going to eliminate all danger when kids successfully bring a gun to school. They have 60 metal detectors, 6,000 cameras, only 60 metal detectors. And Mr. Baker says they are looking at upgrading their metal detectors to do the job better than it is currently doing it. However, what they do not have are Columbus police roaming the halls of the city's most violent schools. Because, of course, that would be racist. Because once we had the George Floyd incident in Minneapolis, 1,000 miles away from us, we determined that we couldn't have police in schools anymore. And we were nervous about it from the very beginning because we never said they were police. We said they were school resource officers. Yes, you know, police in the school. What? Huh? What? So we had them, but we just called them something else. You know what they have now? They have unarmed safety specialists. I shouldn't laugh. Somebody's going to end up dead, but come on. How are you a safety specialist if you're not armed and the kids are? Okay, enough on crime. Would you like an update on the cyber hack of Columbus City Hall? Yes, you would, because they stole your data and maybe you forgot to sign up for the free credit monitoring from the city that couldn't safely guard your information. But if you want to, you have now until March the 31st to sign up. Why is that? Because the latest information announced yesterday by the aforementioned incompetent Mayor Andrew Ginther's office, citizens' private health information was compromised when hackers infiltrated the city of Columbus computer systems last summer. Let me see. When did we discover this? Didn't we discover this like in June of last year? So 7 months. 7 months. Maybe 8 have passed since the hack. And they're just now figuring out. Oh, yeah, they got your health information too. They say fewer than 1,000 individuals. I'm a little skeptical that it's fewer than 1,000 individuals. Do you know why I'm a little skeptical that it's fewer than 1,000 individuals? Because in the beginning, the aforementioned Mayor Ginther said, don't worry, the hackers got nothing. They got nothing. And we found out, oh, they did get something. In fact, they got a lot. They got the addresses of undercover police officers. They got payroll information. They got bank account numbers. They got everybody who'd ever gone to a Columbus City Council meeting and swiped their driver's license so they could easily be identified by the apparently terrified for their safety all Democrat members of City Council in the city, where they would bear, wouldn't they, some responsibility for the fact that the city is not safe enough that they would feel secure at a City Council meeting. You will get a letter from the Columbus Division of Fire if your health information has been breached in the data hack. Stand by, because right now they're saying that there's no evidence the Division of Fire's encrypted electronic medical record system was compromised. But here's a haunting qualifier, according to the mayor's office. So take that for what it's worth, which, you know, it's coming from the mayor's office. It's worth nothing. Never fear, though, because while the mayor was discussing and disclosing that if you were treated by EMS, your medical information was hacked, Columbus City Council last night took the necessary steps to what? Fortify the juvenile court system? Bulletproof its cybersecurity? No. Columbus City Council took a necessary step, Monday, in its eyes, not mine, to move forward with the Capitol Line, a project aimed at making downtown more pedestrian and bike friendly. That's right, friends. The $100 million bike path. You heard me. $100 million bike path that will link all the various places in downtown where you can be carjacked and robbed and accosted by juveniles who've been let out of the juvenile justice system, despite a record dating back to age 12, which leads to a murder charge at age 18 if you're Tyrese Turner, a double murder charge. They're going forward with this. They're spending the $100 million, not on bulletproofing courts, not on anything of worth, but hey, I'm sure the flowers will be very pretty.
Clouds and sunshine this afternoon, high 40, cloudy for tonight, cold with a low 25. Cloudy, some sleet and freezing rain late in the afternoon. High Wednesday, 35. Showers to start Thursday, and clouds giving way to sun. High 57. Sunshine and clouds Friday, high 40. Saturday, high 47. I'm Andy Robb on 98.9 FM, The Air Show.
Planning for retirement is no small task. If you don't know where to start, join Rodney Peters of Peters Wealth Group every Saturday at 10 and 2 for Retire Ready Ohio. Rodney shares helpful tips and strategies that just might change the course of your retirement. Listen every Saturday, 10 and 2, Retire Ready Ohio, with Rodney Peters of Peters Wealth Group. The firm offers insurance services, investment advisory services.
This is my pillow.
Yep. Registered investment advisor.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS trouble.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
They were coming about a week ago now, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't pay me. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. I had to run to come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free, 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Zumo Play.
The NLS Braille and Talking Book Club uses patrons the freedom to use their way. Listen to their scenes.
When I lost my sight, the only thing I had was reading, and it was like therapy to me.
NLS has pretty much anything you possibly want to read. Just can't recommend it enough. It's a free service. It's amazing how much you can get.
I have used every means there is, I think, of getting access to National Library Service books.
If you want to read an electronic braille, you can. If you want to read on your phone, you can. If you want to read in Hartford, you can.
Everybody should use the way they want to use this program. And it's a program worth looking into. For more information about the National Library Service, apply to physically handicapped Library of Congress, visit loc.gov/thatallmaybe or call 1-888-NLS-READ.
New connected technology and the Consumer Technology Association.
Dark first hour talking about crime in this town and the stupid, idiotic things they're spending money on. I'm so glad. Man, I used to love this town. This town was such a great town in the 90s. Yeah, it's so sad what's happened to it. Big cities all across the country. All across the country. The savings at mypillow.com are phenomenal, and they are having their first ever mega overstock sale. So the quantities are limited on all these things that you can get at a bargain price. But you have to use my promo code Bruce in order to get them. For instance, the flannel Giza Dream bed sheets that I told you were like $60 for the get-in price, I'm wrong. Queen size now is under $60. King size, $69.98. Now, these are going to sell out fast. You can probably get them in time to use them for some of the cold nights we're going to have left. And then next year, you'll break them out and they'll be like new again. Give yourself a present and get those Giza flannel bed sheets. 30% savings on the My Crosses. It's the newest item from Mike Lindell. He wears one every day. They have different styles for men and women. Check that out. And a 2025 six-piece towel set, only $29.98. Of course, the brand on which the whole company was founded, MyPillow. The standard is under $15. Check it out. Use my promo code Bruce at mypillow.com. I guess I'm apologizing for the dark tone of the first half hour. It's not my fault. I'm here to bring you the news and to keep you updated on what's going on. And for the first 2 weeks of the Trump administration, there's been so much going on every day that it's been heavy on national politics. But just 3 stories that came across my screen today on the ongoing problem of crime in Columbus. Then the stupidity of Columbus City Council going forward with a $100 million expenditure on a bike path that'll be a 2-mile stretch of downtown. What are they going to make this? It must be made of the sidewalk must be made of plutonium that we bought on the black market. I don't know how you spend that much money on that. And then we get more news that more information has been hacked 7 months after. It's like they started looking at this just now. Oh, what else? Could we get a full account of everything that's hacked? Okay, so it's been a dark first 45 minutes of the show. Let me give you some good news. The guy who escaped from the Muskingum County Jail has been arrested. The 37-year-old Wayne Fletcher apparently was helped by a woman. They were both arrested and nobody hurt. That's a good thing. No, I can't. I'll save that for Today in Crazy. It's more nonsense from Columbus City Council. Mike DeWine, you remember him, our governor. Don't see much of him, but he's apparently been in his lair putting together a 2-year budget for the state of Ohio. He says he was thinking about his kids and grandkids when he put the budget together. Judging by Mike's comments when he comes out for his rare public appearances, he's pretty much always thinking about his grandkids, isn't he? He says the budget, $108 billion for 2026 and $110 billion for 2027, will prioritize things that benefit kids, economy, the workforce, and higher education. There's a big chunk in here that will infuriate the teachers' unions because $23.4 billion of it supports school choice programs. But DeWine says that he will continue funding public schools, although those with decreasing enrollment, hey, pay attention, Columbus City Schools, will only be funded at 95% of their current levels in fiscal year 2026 and 90% in fiscal year 2027. Oh boy, the worst fears of the Ohio Education Association and the National Federation of Teachers appears to be coming true. But you know what? If you have fewer students, you should not get as much funding as you have gotten before. Good public schools, and there are many of them, and I'm privileged to serve one, do not have a problem with declining enrollment. Those public school districts are districts into which people move because the schools are an attraction, an allure. I want to come here because I know my property values are going to be stable, maybe increase because the schools are well run. And very often those schools are free of wokeism. And they have a strange fascination with prioritizing students' education. Funny how that works, is it not? Now, yesterday we were doing the show in real time when Mexico caved and agreed to send 10,000 troops to its northern border, our southern border. Claudia Sheinbaum, the tough-talking yet weak-kneed president of Mexico, bent to the threat of 25% Donald Trump tariffs. Yeah. Played the second one because later in the day, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau also caved. He agreed to appoint a fentanyl czar. He agreed to send 10,000 troops to his southern border, our northern border, to police drugs coming across the border. And Donald Trump reciprocated in the same way that he did with Mexico, which was to pause, not eliminate. You got to keep that threat hanging over their head, see if they do what they actually promised to do, but to pause the tariff of 25% that he said would hit Mexico and Canada if they didn't bend to his will. Now, China has not yet satisfied Mr. Trump on his threat of a 10% tariff on goods coming in from China. Here is Kevin O'Leary, Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful, talking about how China is a much different animal when it comes to trade, unfair trade, and dirty dealings than either Canada or Mexico, which makes sense, of course, because Canada and Mexico are theoretically allies of ours, and China most assuredly is not.
Completely different, and I think they need a lot more squeezing than just this. I'm surprised there's only 10%. I thought 400% would be a good place to start. It's just, you can't compare these three situations. They're all different, but China is a big, big, big problem, and I'm not sure this is going to be resolved on a weekend deal.
Probably not. We have too many lines where the United States dares China to cross and China is daring us to cross. But make no mistake, China is a bad actor. O'Leary here is talking about the consequence of long-standing American manufacturing decision-making, that you can manufacture something cheaper in China than you can in the US. Well, of course you can, because, you know, they don't, it's not a free country, okay? So workers over there, they're not going to unionize in China, right? And find yourself sharing a bunk with the Uyghurs if you do that. Well, you will do what the Chinese Communist Party tells you to do, or you will regret your decision. But so American manufacturing has been over the years increasingly sent to China, which originally everybody thought, oh, that's a great deal because we can make our goods for less. Problem is, when you tell them how to manufacture the goods that you want produced, you have to share your intellectual property with them, and then it is no longer yours.
Biggest problem is if you manufactured there in the last 20 years, you would find your IP as soon as the product is proved successful to be all over the world at a significant discount. It was just stolen from you and manufactured in some cases by the same plant. And then when online sales began with obviously Amazon and then Alibaba appeared, you could take the product down on Alibaba with IP support from the American legal system, but there is no system in China that you can be reciprocal with. You can't litigate for your IP there. You can't use their court systems. You can't do anything, and I think that's more of the issue.
Obviously it is. You know, you cannot go to China and sue a Chinese company for stealing your intellectual property. I mean, it's just, they don't even make a mechanism for it, right? Because that's just something you should know if you're an American manufacturer, that if you get in bed with China, I mean, I hate to be graphic, but if you get in bed with a prostitute, you can't be surprised if you come out with a venereal disease, right? So if you made this deal with China, you're going to save money in the short term on your manufacturing. Yeah, guess what? And then you're not going to have like the monopoly on the IP, the intellectual property that you brought to the market. So this is a complex problem, and it's one that there might be some short-term pain. Our costs might go up, but we got to get away from depending on China.
My sister Katie and I love to shop. Well, mostly window shop. She means we're thorough.
All right, I don't know if you guys could hear the sound or not. I think our sound system's off. Something off with it. So I apologize, and I'm not good about remembering sometimes to turn my mic back off when we're playing sound, and if you didn't hear it, I apologize for that. We finally got our streaming back up here after some technical issues for about a week or two. So I'll try to do better tomorrow. I hope you guys have a great day today. Pause and give thanks for something today. I've been pretty disciplined in my my morning quiet time to be thankful and lift up people who really need to be supported right now. And I'd be lost if I didn't do that. So maybe if you're struggling with something, try to be thankful for some good things in your life. And obviously, I'm a huge believer in casting your cares to God and letting Him letting him speak to your heart, devoting your heart to him. It's brought me great peace in my life. Doesn't mean I don't get upset with crappy news headlines like we had to deal with today. But I understand he's in control. I'm not. And I don't live in fear, which is a great thing. And I don't try to control everything in my life like I used to. It's made me a much more content person. So I hope that for you as well. Have a great day. See you tonight. Go Pioneers.